Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP. And once again, this is the one-day chart. We're sitting here at $2.36. Today is a green day for XRP. But if you zoom out to the 7-day chart, we didn't break above that $2.40 price point yet. We're still waiting for that to happen. And can we go lower from here? Absolutely. I see a lot of people being very bearish on XRP right now, bearish on crypto in general. But I always like to stay optimistic. I always think something's going to happen that's going to get XRP really moving. But I would love to see it push back above $2.40. That will solidify that it looks like we're going to continue upward. And look at Bitcoin back up above 107K. And again, when Bitcoin rises, it takes the rest of the market with it. We're still following Bitcoin. I stress that every day because there's so many people out there on a red day that think it's just XRP dropping in price. It's the whole market, and it's still being led by Bitcoin. You know, everybody's predicting big things for this coming week. And I would agree, it's going to start with a possible Fed rate cut. There is now a 100% chance the Fed will cut rates next week. Will Powell go for 25 or 50 BPS? But I think that's on the 29th, actually, when that's supposed to happen. But everybody's thinking that there's going to be a lot of buyers ahead of a possible Fed rate cut, and I would agree with that. But again, you don't know what's going to happen with tariffs. If there's more talk of tariffs next week, then it looks like we're going to have another red week ahead. Now, if there's no talk of tariffs and everything looks like it's calming down around that, most likely we could see XRP continuing upward. And there's a lot of crazy price predictions going on right now as well. I'll talk more about that in this video. XRP stabilizes after early dip. Trader's Eye, a $2.40 breakout. Like I said, we have to get above $2.40. And it's because the market's calm right now. Because it's the weekend, you don't have the president tweeting out about tariffs, you don't have any kind of conflict really going on right now, so everything's starting to stabilize. But the second we see conflict or renewed tariff talk, that's it. Most likely you'll see Bitcoin come down once again. Good news for XRP investors as Ripple battles through the 24% monthly slump. And they're all citing the same thing. They're citing ETFs possibly going live. I'll talk more about that in this video as well. But if you know what you're holding when you hold XRP, you could hold through anything. Even if we do see more of a dip, you'll hold through it as an XRP investor because you know we're going to see a parabolic run. It's going to happen. You know, you have all these people that are negative every single day, but soon as the breakout begins, they're going to be so excited about XRP and they're going to be telling you, I've been telling you all along XRP was going to have a fantastic run. But right now, because we're not breaking out yet, everybody thinks it's over for XRP. Do you know how many times I've seen people saying this run is over? Now you got to prepare for 2028. It's like, come on, this run didn't even begin yet. XRP charts now showing $1,200 just as I predicted a year ago. You know, like I said, I see some crazy price predictions out there. But could XRP possibly reach these price points? We really don't know. Anything can happen. I would just like to see us get above $50 first. Once we get above $50, we'll have a better idea on where XRP is going. I still think there's possibility of 3 digits in this run. But what he's citing is this chart right here. Are you mentally prepared for this? So you see, the first breakout would bring us around $90 to $100. Then the next move up would get us to those price points, like $1,750. I think we're more likely to top out around $90 to $100. But the ETF inflows might be absolutely shocking. So I think it's too early to say still. And is ISO going to bring value to XRP? That could be a big factor in this run. Then we look at clarity as well. I always remind you of what we're waiting for, all the catalysts that are out there. Ripple CTO David Schwartz claims $1 million per XRP is actually more realistic than $1. But David Schwartz was not calling for $1 million XRP. What he was doing was giving you an example of why the prices have to be high for XRP, for it to be utilized in cross-border payments around the world. Now, do I think XRP is headed to $10,000 at some point? Most likely, with adoption, with actual usage of the token in cross-border payments. We're just not quite at that point yet, but it is absolutely coming. What we're watching now is the remainder of the framework getting put in place. That's why we're still getting announcements around Ripple partners partnering with other companies or acquiring other companies, setting up more and more rails all around the world. And the fact that Ripple is buying back some XRP now, that tells you XRP is not going to be cheap in the future. It is absolutely going to be an expensive cryptocurrency. But we also are waiting to see scarcity and adoption as well. Coinbase scheduled downtime on XRP ETF approval date sparks speculation. Now, we knew that these dates were coming, and it is true. Coinbase confirms October 25th maintenance amid SEC XRP ETF decision window. But the SEC is shut down now with the rest of the government. These were the initial dates that we were expecting for a spot XRP ETF. Now, these dates are most likely going to get pushed out into November. But that doesn't mean we still can't see a run-up going into the end of October. A lot of people are going to want to be positioned ahead of these ETFs. Anybody that's still out there not invested in XRP or invested in crypto at all, the window is absolutely closing. You see it coming now. We know we're going to get a new line of scheduled dates from the SEC, or maybe Atkins just comes out once the government reopens and just makes all these ETFs go live. He's most likely going to fast track everything. You got to remember, we're playing catch up with the rest of the world. The rest of the world is way past the United States when it comes to crypto. We're still in the delay as far as the rest of the world. Sure, we made some of those catch-ups happen with Trump coming to the White House. They fast-tracked a lot of things, but in other countries, they're still advancing ahead of the United States. Most influencers shill the token they hold to pump their bags. I shill XRP to pump your bags. Not really financial advice if you squint while reading the above. Also, I typed all of that with my fingers crossed. That comes from Vincent Van Code. I don't know if you even shill XRP. What I do is I bring you the narrative every day. I also bring you the news every day of what's going on around Ripple and XRP. But I go beyond that. I want you to be looking at real world events as well. Because there was a time in crypto where real world events didn't really factor in to your investment. But sure enough, now they absolutely do. The president can type out one sentence now on X, and all of a sudden the market tanks out. Think about that. That's where we are now in crypto. But I also really don't shill XRP. I know all of you are XRP holders already. What I want to do is I want to keep you positive so that you can make it to the finish line. I want to help you keep holding your XRP so you could get financial freedom. When I say let's get rich together, I absolutely mean that. I want to get rich with every single one of you. I don't want to get rich without any of you, because that's what I always planned to do, even from day one when I started this channel. I just wanted to get you all to the finish line, and now the finish line is in sight. We are almost there. I always said we're in the calm before the storm, but the storm is absolutely approaching, and everybody wants it to happen already, and I get that. This whole cycle was totally different from every previous cycle. It's the same reason you now have people saying the four-year cycle is over. It's now the 5-year cycle or the 6-year cycle. But most of those people are talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to top out, and it's going to top out quicker than people think. And when that happens, then it's going to be time for these altcoins to really shine. And all of you are going to make a hell of a lot of money when that happens. Keep checking the XRP price every 5 seconds, Dave. But stay away from your friend who told you Circle will make XRP a bad investment. Dave Portnoy says no, but I'm checking it every 5 seconds. If it dips below $2.20, I'm going bonkers. Remember, Dave sold all of his XRP. Then he came back and bought $1 million worth of XRP. Now people are betting on whether or not he's going to sell on a dip. You know, even the most richest people out there, some of them, they get antsy on red days. They get impatient on red days. And right away, they want to sell. You got to be smarter than everyone else when it comes to crypto. Most of you are already smarter than everyone else because you bought XRP. Most of you bought XRP not having a clue on what XRP is built to do. But once you learn what it is, and once you see how it could fix all the problems in the real world, you start to understand that XRP is not going to remain cheap forever. 150 plus digital asset ETFs waiting for approval, says James Seifert. He mentioned XRP and Solana ETFs are part of the next wave coming soon. We saw what happened when Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs went live. Now imagine that kind of liquidity hitting XRP. Take a listen to this.
There's like 35 different assets that have been filed for. So, I mean, some of them are leveraged, some of them are inverse. Like you name it, the issuers are filing to launch these things. But as you mentioned, the government's in a shutdown. So I don't think anything new is going to come to market while the government is shut down. That's my current expectations. I guess anything could happen because technically the rules are if the SEC doesn't stop you within 75 days. We can get into the weeds there if we really want. But basically, the new rules are basically if the SEC signs off on things or doesn't stop you, you can launch the product within 75 days of filing. Realistically, there's only 9-ish assets that are going to get approved before the end of 2025 that meet these new generic listing standards for like traditional spot products. But there's other ways to get around and launch these pseudo products that are almost like spot or leverage or use derivatives and things like that to provide exposure in ETF wrapper. But as you said, I don't think any of those things are likely going to launch while the government is shut down.
Yeah. Do you think that these ETFs, which historically have had a significant impact on the crypto markets and have seen incredible inflows, do you think with the recent uprising of digital asset treasury companies in this publicly listed format, because now those are sort of in the spotlight and you can get exposure through these DATs, do you think we're going to see a little bit less anticipation and excitement around the ETFs when they do inevitably go live?
Yeah, I mean, so I have a few thoughts here, right? Like, the long tail of assets, I mentioned there's 30 plus assets that are filed for ETFs. Some have like 20 plus filings related to them, like Solana and XRP and other Bitcoin and Ethereum products. I think the longer tail of assets are of assets like specific digital currencies. They're probably not going to get a ton of interest, right? Like just because you launch like the 47th largest digital asset in an ETF wrapper doesn't mean that this asset's going to take off because it simply has an ETF. I mean, if you look at the Bitcoin ETFs, part of the reason they did so well is because there was so much pent up demand. And when they launched, Bitcoin was roaring, right? Like it launched into early January and everyone was expecting it. A lot of money poured in. Initially, it was actually kind of a sell the news event. But long term, money kept pouring in and it was a positive thing for the space. Ethereum is the opposite. For the first 5 months of its launch, they had net outflows for Ethereum ETFs because, market had dumped. It was in the summer. There wasn't a lot of demand. It came too quickly after the Bitcoin ETF launched. The narratives weren't clear. But then Trump got elected and it took off. And it's just another avenue for people to play the space, particularly TradFi types of people. So I think the same thing could happen for these other assets. So I think things like Solana and XRP, we know there's pent up demand there.
And that's what I've been telling you this entire time. The demand for XRP is absolutely off the charts. They all know it. Why do you think there's so many filings for an XRP ETF? They know the demand already exists. Now, I think what's going to happen is we're going to see the money flow out of Bitcoin ETFs because people like something new. It's like, okay, well, we never had the option for exposure to Solana or XRP in the past. Now we have that exposure. So let's put all our money into that now. They're going to start all looking past Bitcoin, looking down the road. Plus, technology really sells XRP. It has a use case and it has utility. That's an absolute game changer. Alex Cobb says, keep your eyes peeled here on this falling wedge on XRP. Do you know how many times we've seen the falling wedge for XRP? You know what usually comes right after that? A massive move to the upside. And maybe it begins this week like everybody's calling for. But we all know it's eventually going to happen. But right now, at least XRP is in the green. I just want to see if we make it above $2.40 by the end of the weekend. If that happens, most likely we're going to have a good week ahead. As long as we don't get any sort of tariff news or conflict breaking out in the world and everything stays calm, I think we could see a continued push upward. If not, maybe we go down under $2 because there's a lot of people predicting that as well. But either way, we are still going to see a parabolic run for this cryptocurrency. But until it happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.